So come on in. Okay, so there's a man in my ear telling me we're going live in 2 minutes. So you've got 2 minutes to come and grab a seat. So come and grab a seat if you want to watch Hywel. Those of you that sit down will get samples, I think. How are you cooking the turbot? Pan fried? Okay. So what we're going to do... That's it. Come on in. Come on, take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, quick. We're going live in about 1.5 minutes. So if you want to come in, grab a seat. Come on in, guys. Grab a seat. Take a seat for us now. Thank you very much. Have a seat. Thank you. We've got someone walking around scanning your badges. I'm not doing it this time. They can enter you into a competition. You can win this book. It's an amazing 3-star book by Yoni Bohr. So... let us scan your badge. You go into a competition, okay? Okay, so we're about just under a minute away. Come in, grab a seat, ladies. Do you like turbot? Nod your head, yes, no. Like turbot? Come and take a seat. Hal's going to show you how to fillet it. Come on in. Come and grab a seat. Okay, so 15 seconds. So you can all count in with me, all right? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, give us a massive round of applause, please. Hywel Jones. Okay. Hywel is genuinely one of my favourite chefs. I love his food, okay? So, chef, what are you cooking?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Mark for inviting us to be a part of this. We've been kind of involved with StaffCanteen for how many years now? A long time.
Before I had grey hair.
Yeah. It's a fantastic sort of setup they've got. All the guys in the kitchen are avid followers of StaffCanteen, so obviously you lot are aware of StaffCanteen now, so keep following it. So today we're going to do a dish straight off the menu at Lucknam Park. And it pretty much says quite a bit about the style of food we do at the hotel. It's all about seasonal, about top quality ingredients, local where possible, not just for the sake of it. We only use local when we genuinely think it's the best quality we can get. So the dish is basically a pan-fried turbot. So we've got a beautiful wild turbot there, and we're going to serve it with a Jerusalem artichoke puree. And the Jerusalem artichokes are out of Lucknam Park's garden. Little melted leeks. So obviously I have to get something Welsh in there, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we're going to make a little croquette to go with it, with crushed Jerusalem artichoke. So it's a bit like the Spanish croqueta you get on the tapas. So we cook them in a water bath for about 30 minutes till they're just tender. Then we fondant them in a pan, foam, butter, garlic, thyme, let them go cold. And then we're just going to crush those, mix them with some Iberico ham, a little bit of bechamel. So it's a classic bechamel sauce, so a white roux, milk, and then we bake it through the oven. So you're going to use that just to bind it, and then we'll just ball it into little balls and pan it in panko breadcrumbs. To bring the dish together at the end, we're going to make a little sauce, and we're going to use some lemon thyme, just a little bit of freshness, some toasted hazelnuts, and a base is a roast chicken gravy. So we use lots of chicken wings, roast them off, chicken stock on top, so it's quite intense. And then we're just going to flavour it with a little bit of sweet sherry. So this is Megan. So you're from UCB, there you go, obviously in Birmingham. Megan's going to be helping today, so I'm going to start the fish, but Megan is just going to dice the Iberico ham up into a nice dice. So if you get on with that.
How many of you watched MasterChef The Professional? Okay, anyone remember that amazing lady called Ellie? Yeah, who got to the final? That's Hywel's sous chef. Okay, so Ellie works with Hywel.
She thinks she's head chef at the moment. We get more guests asking for her. Okay. So like I said, Lucknam Park is all about the quality of the ingredients. So we use, all our fish comes, well, nearly all our fish comes from Cornwall, off various sort of ports. We only buy day boat fish. Reason being, day boat, obviously, a day boat is out for a day. If it comes off a bigger boat, a trawler, it could be out for 3 or 4 days before, if it's landed on the first day, it's going to be 3 or 4 days before it gets back to shore. So this fish would have been bought off the market yesterday morning. It was sent to us overnight and then delivered sort of early this morning, and then came straight up and motorway with me this morning.
Hal, just tell us what you look for. What says to you that's a fresh fish?
Okay, freshness, you all know the common things, yeah? First of all, the smell. You shouldn't be able to smell fish. If it smells of fish, you know it's a couple of days old, so that's a big no-no. Secondly, you look for the eyes. Now, the eyes should be nice and bulbous, not sunken, yeah? Thirdly, the flesh should be fairly firm to the touch. Another one, it should be what they call a nice film of sea slime over it, because that's what protects the fish when it's in the water. And then lastly, obviously, the gills. So the gills need to be nice and bright. Yeah, the minute the fish starts aging, they lose that brightness and they go a little bit dull in colour and almost browny, so that's what we want to avoid. Another good way to tell a good quality fish, you'll always see on things like turbot, there should be a little incision. I don't know if you can all see that there, yeah? And that's where, when it's at sea, the fisherman will pierce the spine or the backbone to make sure that none of the blood runs into the flesh. Quite often, if you get a white fish and the flesh got a little bit pink, it's because it hasn't been bled at sea. So you always know you're buying off a decent boat if they've done that.
Hey, you're never too old to learn. I never knew that.
Well, there you go. Okay, so the way I fillet, obviously, fillet knife, nice and sharp, head away from you. And then if you run your finger down the back, you'll feel a line. It's like a little ridge. So all you're doing is cutting through the skin along that. Not too far into the flesh at the moment, because you just want to make sure you're on the right place, yeah?
So all your chefs at Lucknam, how you train them how to do stuff like this? You buy it all in whole?
All the fish comes in whole on a bone, all the shellfish comes in a shell, or meat we get. We don't buy the meat in whole, obviously, but occasionally we'll buy half lamb or half of a pig so they can break it down. It's an important part of their sort of training, and too easy now. It's easy to pick up a phone and order a rack of lamb, but without realising what part of the animal the rack comes from, where the rump comes from.
Yeah. So
I've cut through the skin. Next I'm going to go down, and what I'm trying to locate is the spine of the fish, yeah? Now if you notice, I'm using that part of the knife. Don't use the tip, because then if you use the tip, it's going to be little jagged cuts. What you want is nice, smooth strokes. Once you're down onto that backbone there, you angle the knife towards the bone at about 45 degrees. Okay, so all you've done is lift the flesh off a little bit. Same again.
how many of you guys at college fillet fresh fish?
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
an important thing.
It's very good.
Right, so there's our one fillet, and what we're looking for is nothing left on the bone, yeah? Because this turbot at the moment is fetching about 25.95 a kilo, and that's a 3 kilo fish. So you're looking at.
So what's that roughly? What's the cost of that roughly, Hal?
It's about 70, 80 quid for that one fish.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not a cheap fish, but it is, for me, it's a prime fish, and it's one of the best you can get.
So 2 months full size Sky subscription that costs.
It is, yeah.
There you go.
You can go and watch Wales play for that.
Hey?
80 quid. Okay, so I've turned the fish now. Now I'm going to go from the tail back to the head. But around the head, I'm just going to cut that incision, because the fillet on that side is bigger than the fillet on that side, because that's where the guts were. So now you've got this backbone, you've got to go up and over that. So you cut down. If you can see, so I've just loosened it off that spine. And then again, same principle, angle the knife into the bone, not into the flesh. Remember which part of the knife to use, and smooth strokes.
I guess also, Hal, without stating the glaringly obvious, a sharp knife's very important. I saw you sharpening your knives before you started.
Sharp knife, yes, in anything you do, and a lot of people get worried when they see a sharp knife. Sharp knife is actually safer than a blunt knife. I mean, you'll get a deeper cut with a sharp knife, but it tends to be cleaner.
Yeah.
So flip it over, and then exactly the same on the opposite side. So up that line there.
So what other fish have you got on the menu at the moment at Lucknam, Hal?
So at the moment we're using sea bass. We've got red mullet on, although we had to take the reds off last week because they were in quite short supply, so we switched to hake.
The sea basses as well at the moment, isn't there? Isn't there a...
There was just before Christmas, they were putting a bit of a ban on the line caught stuff.
On the line caught, yeah.
Yeah, but now they're back in. And we have certain specs for our fish. All the bass is 2 to 3 kilos. The turbots are normally 3 to 4. This one today is a 2 to 3 because it was only for the demonstration. So there's our third fillet. Flip them around, exactly the same again.
So you've got a cookery school down there now at Lucknam. How's that going?
Cookery school is challenging. It's a complete different mindset. It's great, but when we first opened it, we went in there with you've got to remember, you're not teaching chefs. You're teaching sort of housewives.
Yeah.
So I think you need to be a lot more patient.
Yeah.
Than you are in a professional kitchen. Although obviously our kitchen is very quiet anyway. So coming back to the fish, you've got the 2 bottom fillets. So there's the fish reassembled minus the bone. So you've got the nice clean bone, 4 fillets, yeah? At the hotel, obviously, this would then be turned into fish stock. So we take the eyes out, the gills out. If you pop that into a mixing bowl underneath, and then with a plastic fork, you try and crush those down. Yeah, so the eyes out, gills out, we make that into a fish stock. So all we do is simmer it with white mirepoix, white wine, coriander seeds, lemon, parsley for 30 minutes. Off the heat, slice lemon and parsley in and let it go cold. And then the other thing, which not a lot of people realise on flatfish like that, turbot has cheeks. Yeah? Like you get pig cheek. So if you go in, take this little nugget of meat out, that is an absolute quality piece of fish, yeah? It's quite, like when you get a pig cheek or an ox cheek, it's quite gelatinous. So skin that, pan it in breadcrumbs and deep fry it, and it's the best sort of scampi you'll ever get.
And I guess if you're paying the price that you're paying for that, it's important to utilise all of the fish, yeah?
Yeah, one from a financial point of view,
absolutely.
but 2 out of respect. You know, our
respect.
fish has lost his life to feed us, so we need to make sure we use it all. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of the fillets, and I'm going to skin it. Now, you don't have to skin turbot, depending on where we were serving it. If we were serving it in our brasserie, we might leave a skin on and just grill it slightly. But for the park, which is a little bit more refined, we're going to skin it. So,
and your park is your fine dining restaurant, yeah?
The park's the fine dining, yeah. So with the tail, the thinner end, you cut in, and then you cut the opposite way. And again, you're angling the knife down to the skin. And the reason we did that is so you've got a little handle to sort of pull. And the brown side is always the hardest because you've got the little barnacles on it. So the skin should come off in one. Again, not wasting anything. So you've got now, we're beginning to get almost presentable. So the next thing we need to do is all these little frills, they will naturally sort of fall off. And then we're just going to straighten it up there. And then we've got a perfect fillet. So we're nearly ready now to start the preparation for the dish. How are you getting on there, Megan?
Do you want
that?
Yeah,
put a few more of those in.
Chef?
That can go out the back, yeah. Was that? Yeah, try with just a spoon, yeah. You can put a few more in, and then you're going to put a little bit of this just to bind here. Okay, so out of this, I'm going to portion 2 nice sized portions. We would get, at the hotel, you're looking at about between 120 and 150 grams a portion, depending on if it's part of a tasting menu or it's the a la carte. So we'll get 2 nice portions there. Quite often with these little tail bits, what we'll do is cut them into goujons, and we use them on a Sunday lunch menu. Crispy goujons of sort of Cornish turbot, so that we're not wasting any of it. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side. So there's our fish ready to rumble. Rinse my hands. Obviously, normally you'd use a clean chopping board, but we'll just turn it for the now. Okay, the next thing we've got on, this is our chicken gravy, so our roast chicken gravy. So we're just going to reduce this down to make it a little bit richer. And at the same time, I'm going to start shredding my leeks for the little melted leeks. So these, again, out of the garden at Lucknam Park. You got that chopping knife?
So they're not Welsh then?
Well, they were invented in Wales, weren't they?
Hal is seriously the most patriotic Welshman you could ever wish to meet.
No, I think any Welshman is patriotic anyway. So.
We always have some great banter over the rugby. We're obviously, as England, are doing very well at the moment.
Well,
but trust me,
it makes
Hal's had lots of opportunity to rub it in with me.
Yeah, and I do every opportunity. Don't worry. So we're just going to cut these. The important.
Obviously, football's a different issue.
Well, actually, I think we did.
No, you're doing very well in football as well.
Stop there now, Mark. So the important thing is to make sure they cut all the same thickness, so that when we cook them, they cook evenly. And we're just going to slightly loosen them up a little bit. And then we're going to start cooking these already. Right. So you're going to put a little bit of bechamel in there, just enough to bind it. And then if you ball them into balls about that size, yeah? That was accurate, wasn't it? Balls that size.
Yeah. So these are for the croquettes, Hal, yeah?
These are the little croquettes, yeah. So they'll just add a little bit of richness to the dish. So, some butter into a pan for the leeks. And don't be shy with the butter. At the end of the day, this is, okay, it's not exactly a healthy dish, but it's kind of it's in the park and it's more of a destination dish. So the chicken jus is reducing.
How is this a dish you've had on for a long time? Is it something that's evolved? Talk us through the sort of origins of the dish.
This is actually quite a new dish. So this went on sort of late November. We've got some dishes which are kind of the staples and they stay on mainly through demand. They've been popular dishes and people do ask for them. But then there's a lot of dishes where I don't have wholesale changes on a menu. We don't like one day change a complete menu because I just find it puts too much pressure on the team. So in go the leeks. Let's have a look at those. Perfect, yeah. Right, I'm going to add a little tiny pinch of salt to those. And what that does, that just helps draw out the moisture. So there's no liquid involved here. They're just going to start steaming.
Hal, you mentioned the garden at Lucknam Park. How sort of self-sufficient are you?
Throughout the summer, we grow a lot of soft berries. We've got some asparagus canes which we put in a few seasons ago, which is amazing. I mean, we are reasonably limited to space. So what we decided to do, rather than grow rows and rows of potatoes, which are not that unique as such, we concentrate on things like the soft fruits, asparagus, juice and artichokes, that sort of stuff. Raspberries, we got one variety in it called Tulamine raspberry. Absolutely awesome.
I think I came to you and you guys were still using raspberries in about October, November time.
Yeah.
And I think they were coming out of your garden then.
They'll go on until the first frost raspberries.
Wow.
It's that warm air coming from Wales, you see.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's that warm Welsh air.
That tropical climate. Right. Then flour, egg, breadcrumbs, yeah? So give your hands a little wash. Okay, the chicken jus is reducing. So I'm not going to cook those much more than that. So I'm going to remove those. Right, in this pan now we're going to make
right, no worries.
a little nut brown butter, which is going to go into the sauce. So it's sort of like a warm vinaigrette, if you like, but using butter instead of oil. So in goes the butter. We're just going to cook this to a burn rosette. I've got a few chives. I'm just going to roughly chop. And they're going to go into the leeks. So they're just sitting the leeks there. The other part of the dish we're going to use as a garnish is a little roasted baby artichoke. So these are cooked, vacuum packed. We put a mixture of equal quantities of white wine vinegar, coriander seeds. Cook them in a water bath at 58 degrees till they're just tender. So we'll use 2 of those as a garnish. They just get roasted in the pan. Right, when you make the nut brown butter, it's important to whisk the pan because the sediment on the bottom of the pan is what will start to burn, and that's what the flavour is. So we want to make sure that's going through the butter.
You use a salted or an unsalted butter? What do you use?
We use unsalted butter always in cooking. Apart from some of the desserts where we want an element of salt in it.
So up there in Wiltshire, you're blessed with some amazing produce.
It's an amazing part of the world. Got a lot of obviously farmers locally, but as well as we've got veg. Bromham is just down the road from us, so Bromham is very, very famous for things like carrots and parsnips because of the salty, not salty, the
and you got
Water
Rose up there for all your meats.
Walter Rose, a bit of a legend now. And obviously Johnny's not that far from us.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is just reduced, so it's kind of almost syrupy. Pull that to the edge. Right, so the nut brown butter, you cook it literally till it starts to smell nutty. Once you've achieved the colour you want, that's when we add the lemon off the heat, and that's what stops the cooking process. So this sauce is going to take 3 elements to it, yeah? So we've got the nut brown butter, the chicken base, and the last element is a little bit of sweet, the Pedro Jimenez sherry. So it's very sweet, very raisiny, sultanery. So we're just going to reduce some of that down. And now I'm going to start cooking the fish. So we reduce this down, 1 just to get rid of the alcohol, and 2 just to intensify the flavour a little bit. Okay, fish, lightly season it with a little bit of rock salt. I tend to not use pepper when I cook fish, unless it's a very robust dish. If it was something like with maybe a red wine sauce, possibly.
I notice a lot of you chefs now are brining all your fish. Are you brining yours?
Not fish, we brine some meats.
You brine some meats, yeah.
But not necessarily fish.
I know you showed me that earlier, and why are we using a rapeseed oil, Hal?
So we use a lot, well again, you mentioned Wiltshire. There's a lot of rapeseed producers around us in Wiltshire, good sort of farming area. This is actually Welsh, surprise, surprise. But it's a great alternative to olive oil. It's great for cooking. The only thing I think you need to be careful at times is it does tend to be quite coloured.
Okay.
So, nice hot pan. Right, next, can you pick the little leaves off the lemon thyme for me?
How we doing, Megan, all right? Do you want those on somehow?
They'll go straight in the fryer now.
Okay.
Okay, we always put nice warm pan. This what was the skin side down. And when you put it into the pan, always away from you so that you don't splash yourself with oil. You splash whoever's on the other side of the stove. There's no oven here, is there?
What you need, chef? Behind you.
Is it on?
Probably not. I can get it on.
Oh, just whack it on high. Okay. We might be able to cook this all the way in a pan anyway. Right, so that sherry's reduced down. So now I'm going to add into it, off the heat, a little bit of the chicken jus. And we're going to marble it with a little bit of the nut brown butter. And it's roughly equal quantities, yeah? And then that'll just sit on the edge here nice and warm. Fish, wouldn't try not to move it in a pan too much, yeah? Because you want to get a nice crust and caramelization. The more you move it around, you're going to get a dirty finish on the surface of the fish. Baby artichokes in half. Just going to pop these alongside the fish in the pan. Because they are cooked already, all we're doing now is just getting a little bit of colour onto them. And then finally, the hazelnuts. So these are best normally, we roast them sort of fresh to order so that they're quite fresh and nutty. Just going to break those with the back. Don't over crush them, we want to have a little bit of texture in the dish. So they go into the sauce. And then we're just going to let that sauce reduce together a little bit. Okay, the final element of the dish is a little Jerusalem artichoke puree that we cook basically like a dauphinoise. So we slice all the artichokes, cream, garlic, butter, bring it up on the stove and then bake it through the oven. What's that?
Is that enough time?
Yeah, perfect.
Do you want those croquettes dropping in?
Yeah, so they can go in now in the fryer, cook them till they're nice and golden brown. Right, so the leeks we're going to keep warm there. Yeah, that's fine, just playing up now. It's a tiny dash more oil in that pan. So, no, you can get rid of all that. So you've got the little lemon thyme flowers. They're going to go into the sauce as well.
Will, you got a nice clean board over there, mate.
I'm going to pop that fish in the oven just for
star.
a couple of minutes. Just so the top of the fish starts to get some heat.
Not only amazing micro herb suppliers, chopping board suppliers.
Oh, we're playing two up, yeah?
Hey?
We do
yes,
two.
yeah, please, chef. Yep. I'll tell you what would be really nice, actually, is maybe you can plate one here.
Yeah.
And a bit like Master Chef style, we'll see if Megan can plate one here.
You
How's
Megan? There's a challenge for you.
Yeah? What do you reckon, Megan?
But if yours looks better than mine, it's trouble.
So if we move one over onto this board, Megan, you give that one a wipe. And then Hywel will plate his up, and then you can either freestyle it, Megan, or you can copy him.
Right, so the leeks, we'll just tip out onto a draining plate. So the hotel, this is where everything comes up to the pass on garnish trays. And then we plate on the hot plate. I'll just check the fish. Oh, that was a couple of minutes in there and it's nearly ready. You can just see where the edges are going white and it's just still slightly opaque there. So at that stage, you're going to put a little bit of butter in. Turn the fish over.
So you pretty much cook it all on one side.
On the caramelised side, that's why we put it through the oven, just so the top of it starts getting a bit of heat.
Okay.
Then we'll turn it over and finish it. Now for the plating up. So
You're
we'll do
do
the
one
puree.
of those chefy drags. I'd freestyle it, Megan.
And then a little bit there just to hold the sauce. Do yours however you want. If you can do a Welsh dragon, I'll let you win. So the little baby arch is nice and golden now. And then I'm just going to keep basting this fish. So
Whilst How's doing that, have a think about some questions. I'm going to come into the audience in a minute. You'll get a chance to ask How some questions. We're going to bribe you with StaffCanteen mugs. I'm sure How's kitchen's full of them anyway, but literally, these are money can't buy mugs. So we're going to bribe, if anyone asks a question, we'll get a mug. So start thinking about a question you want to ask How.
Right, we're going to put a little pile of the leeks. This is what the fish is going to sit on.
Have you guys got the croquettes? Oh yeah, they're there. Okay, yeah.
Some leeks for you. Excuse the board. And Megan, there's a couple of chokes for you.
Just while How's doing that, after How, coming up on stage at 1 o'clock, we've got Mr. Shay Cooper. So Shay's come up from the Bingham Hotel in London. Sorry, not he was at the Bingham Hotel. Shay's now at the Goring Hotel. And Shay's going to be on stage at 1 o'clock. So come back and see us at 1 o'clock when How's finished.
Okay, so the fish, take it out of the pan. And we're going to finish the dish with the little hazelnut and lemon thyme dressing.
You're doing great there, Megan. That looks really good.
I'm worried.
I think it could be a job offer.
There you go. Your fish on, and garnish it with a couple of the baby artichokes. There you go.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love Hywel's food, because it does what it says on the tin.
Here's your fish. There's another spoon for you.
So, roasted turbot, melted leeks, Iberico ham croquettes, Jerusalem artichoke. I'm going to come down and ask you some questions, or you can ask Hywel some questions. But before I do, put your hands together. Hywel Jones, Lucknam Park.
Thank you. And Megan.
Also, look at the amazing Megan. Look what Megan's done. So, big round of applause for Megan from UCB College. Okay, who's got a question for Hywel? Questions, you get a mug. Don't be shy. Anyone got a question? Yes, sir. If you can introduce yourself to Hywel and then ask the question.
Yeah, hello, Chef. My name is Jose. Just I want to ask, when you do the bechamel, if you infusion the meal with the Iberico ham for get more flavor to the bechamel?
Well, the Iberico ham is to give the dish a little bit of richness. And also, one of the ways it came about is because we use whole legs of Iberico in the brasserie. And when we have the trimmings, we normally make canopy fritters with them.
Okay.
So it's just something we thought we'll add that to the dish.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. This gentleman's got a mug. Yeah. Let me come round that way. I have to always mind the camera. I keep getting told off I'm in camera. Okay, so again, if you can introduce yourself and then ask Hywel the question.
Hello, I'm Scott from UCB. And just wondering... Sorry, I jumped to hold it. Okay. How many would you normally get in for a service, like the fish? How, like, what is it? How many covers would you normally take?
How many covers?
Yeah.
The park restaurant we can do up to, on a Saturday we'll do up to about 75, 80. At the brasserie we'll do slightly more, we can go up to around 90. We used to do more in the park, but now we've got the two restaurants, it enables us to sort of control the park a little bit better.
Okay. And you, sir, yes. Again, if you can just introduce yourself to Hywel and then ask him the question.
Hi, I'm Yosef.
Hello.
I'm from Bath College. I was wondering what you're looking to a new chef who wants to join your team.
You're from Bath College?
Yeah, Bath College, yeah.
So you want a job?
Yeah, that if I wanted a job.
Are you from Bath, yeah?
Yeah.
So, depending on what level we recruit for, when it's a sort of a junior position, like a commie or something, it's all about attitude. At the end of the day, you're coming to me to learn, or hopefully learn. But what I need is smiley face, happy, eagerness to learn, and that's the biggest thing. Obviously, if I'm recruiting for a sort of senior position like a sous chef, relevant experience is required. But the most important thing is to come nicely presented. You'd be amazed now how many, it's kind of old-fashioned to turn up for an interview all suited and booted, but it does make an impression. But just have the right attitude, be willing to learn.
Pop your CV in the post is my suggestion. Okay, one last question. No, it's okay. You can ask another one. Is it yourself or this gentleman? Okay, is he shy? Yeah. Is he?
How has MasterChef affected the restaurant that you work at the moment?
Well, when the day Ellie got to the final, I mean, obviously it was filmed last summer, but it wasn't aired until December. But the day she was in the final and it was aired, we put out tweets for a night in the brasserie with Ellie, a night in the park, a day in the cookery school, and within, literally, I'm not joking, within about 5-10 minutes, we took over nearly 200 bookings. So we had to extend it to another 4 nights in the brasserie, another 2 nights in the park and the cookery school. But it's not only, it's obviously, it brings financial reward to the hotel, but it's what it does for the brigade as well. The motivation in the brigade, everyone got behind Ellie, and it's great for them to see her succeed. And we've got another 3 girls in the kitchen, and it's encouraged them to sort of go on and have a go themselves.
Cara will be pleased. Another 3 girls in the Lucknam Park kitchen, Cara. Girl power.
Spice Girls.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just before you all disappear, one last time. Now he's got a glass of champagne in his hand. Please, massive round of applause. Hywel Jones, Megan, UCB College. Thank you all very much. Okay, Chef, thank you. Well done. So, we are going to whisk Chef away over here. Get him to say some nice things about the staff canteen and other things. We're going to get cleared down. Yep, I need to get Hywel to sign that. If you can just do it.